Welcome back to the Youth Catalyst podcast.
Come on now. Let's go.
We're here with a very special guest today. I'm actually really very excited about this.
Come on.
Because not only is she an amazing youth worker
Come on.
and an incredible person
Let's
and
go.
my friend,
Thank you.
it is it's Hannah Anderson, everybody. Woo!
Yes.
I love that I'm giving myself a clap.
Yeah, give yourself a clap.
Go for it.
Get yourself up. I love that. Hannah, tell us a little bit about you. Give us a little intro.
I'm Hannah, obviously. I am the youth pastor at Emmaus Rd Aldershot. I have only been doing that for like 6 months, so it's very new. I was a teacher before. I'm from Scotland, obviously, from my accent.
No way.
Surprise! Wow. Do you know the amount of times I've been asked if I'm Irish? Like,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, this is going to go a bit of a ramble, but
Get deep.
I feel bad when people ask me, so I'm like, oh, I'm a quarter Irish. And they're like,
I love it.
and there was
That's
someone
great.
who asked me, and I went, oh, I live really close to Ireland. Like, what
Celtic
yeah,
roots.
there's a Celtic connection.
Love it.
But yeah, so that's a bit about me. Yeah.
That's so good.
Love that. Brilliant. Well, we're pumped to have you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
stoked.
you.
And
Thanks,
we've been
guys.
asking every guest on this series of the pod a question. It's hard hitting. Are you
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
If I said the word discipline to you, what kind of feelings would that conjure in you? Where does that take your mind initially? Discipline.
Oh, for me, I think I would say, especially growing up, I was a bit of a perfectionist, so discipline was quite scary to me, and I felt like I always had to obey,
Yeah.
and I hated getting in trouble. So,
Yeah.
like, discipline, probably when I was younger, was not the best
Yeah.
perception.
Oh, I hear
yeah.
you. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, that's like where we stay with discipline, isn't it? It's like discipline is scary.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, it's not nice. And maybe even like it doesn't even come from the best place.
Yeah.
Like I think we all experienced discipline that actually didn't have our best intentions at heart.
Yeah.
But like how, I suppose, like you're saying, that's how you saw it when you're younger. How do you see it now? Has that changed at all? Or is that like, are you still like, because if you still don't like it, this is going to be a long podcast.
You have to unpack some things. No, I think for me, it's what I've realised is like, for my best interest, discipline really helps. And that is like not just from a Christian perspective, but in life in general, like having routine and having, sticking to specific structures really, really helpful.
So
and then
good.
when that comes to being a Christian and having putting these things into place and these disciplines in place,
It's good.
it's really, really helpful. And
That's so
really,
cool.
Love that. Yeah, and that's kind of the journey we're on with this series of the pod. Is like trying to reframe discipline as something that's scary and not good for you, through to something that actually is like for your flourishing and goodness, and like actually something that you can be proud of.
Yeah.
Like it kind of, it's really empowering rather than the other way around. So yeah, should we get stuck in?
Please, I'd love to.
We have been journeying through Matthew together. So I'm going to read a bit of scripture from Matthew chapter. Do you know, you've confused me because there's a note here that says Matthew 3.
Sorry.
No, don't be
Cross
sorry.
reference.
No, that's fine. That's great.
Great.
Get yourself a Bible with room for notes so you
Yeah.
can confuse people.
Kate's written loads.
Yeah. Kate has
There
read
is-
so much Bible.
Just want to show off.
Let me just see. Actually, there's not so much in the Old Testament.
No,
Kate.
it's
what are you doing? Empty.
It's all new
It's just
test.
got.
Love
Okay.
Jesus.
She only
We're
does the
afraid-
Gospels.
Yeah, come on.
Surface level notes.
Okay. So in Matthew 12, verse 15, Jesus, aware of this, withdrew from there, and many followed him, and he healed them all and ordered them not to make him known. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. Behold, my servant, who I have chosen, my beloved, with whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he will proclaim justice to the Gentiles. He will not quarrel or cry aloud, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smouldering wick he will not quench, until he brings justice to victory. And in his name, the Gentiles will have hope.
Come on.
So good,
What a
isn't it?
passage.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like we could just close it there. Just reflect on that, meditate on that.
See you later.
Yeah, it's so
Music
good.
plays.
How good is that music?
Yeah.
So good.
So we've been looking through Matthew, and we've gone all the way from kind of a foundational discipline of prayer, and now we're looking at Bible reading as a spiritual discipline and basically a relationship with the Bible. And the reason we've picked that passage is because it's such a beautiful, I think, representation of like the Bible's like thread of a storyline throughout the whole book that as you can see, there's not many notes in the Old Testament because the Old Testament's a bit scary sometimes, but there's so much richness in like looking at the Bible as one story, and I kind of wanted to draw on like, hey, we're looking at the life of Jesus and Jesus' teaching, but Jesus is everywhere in the Bible, and so kind of wanted us to, I guess, have that little foundation of
That's great.
thinking, and also what it says and all that passage stands for is awesome, and kind of looking at the Bible as not just something that we sit and have quiet time with, but like something that helps us carry out all of that and Jesus' life on earth. But Hannah, I'd love you to kick us off on maybe if you give us a little bit of like, how do you engage with the Bible? What does the Bible mean for you? And then we'll kind of get to practically. Are you a fan? Big fan. Not finished it yet.
Imagine I said no and my whole job is to teach other people the Bible. That would be wild.
Give us some,
of course.
groundwork.
So I, just for a bit of background, I grew up in a Christian home and like always knew that I loved Jesus. Didn't really engage in the Bible until my later years of like teenager, because I just found it boring. I just didn't understand. I think when you're in Sunday school, people give you the stories, but there's not really a context. It's like, let's talk about Joseph's coat. Like, So you're like,
it's always the wildest stories as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I've got a couple of kids, and they're like, we learnt about like the Ark today. I'm like, don't start there. Don't
Scary.
start that one.
So you don't see the full picture, and you don't see how God is constantly redeeming, and how it's like people mess up, but God redeems their stories, and that's the theme of the Bible. But I think it was when I got into my later years and was like, where do I start? And it's so hard to know. What's always helped me is I've always had like a devotion of some kind. So if that's like through, my auntie worked in a Christian bookshop and she used to get me little like books they were really helpful, like team specific devotions. They were a bit cringe, but just like led me to reading different passages. And then now I have like, I read something called She Reads Truth, and right now I'm doing like the attributes of God. But it gives me like a good focus, and it gives me just somewhere to be more specific on.
Because otherwise it's a bit like you sit down in front of Netflix, there's everything, and actually you get like that kind of option paralysis, I think is real with the Bible as well. Where do I go to? And having something like a devotional or a study guide or a Bible plan, it takes that decision making away, and then it kind of keeps you along a little path. I really like that. That's really cool. Yeah,
and I think the other thing is just thinking like, what was the purpose of this text? Who is God trying to speak to? And what can I get from it? So it's like, who was he speaking to then? And what can I get from it now? And it's not just been like, what is going on? Because you could so easily, and I think sometimes I think, right, God, speak to me. I'd open up the Bible and it'd be like Leviticus. And I'm like, no.
Bible bingo.
But it's just, and I think, to be honest, I would have always said, I only really engage with, not only, but I really engage with God through worship music. But that is a lot, that is so biblical. It's just like taken from the Psalms or taken from different passages and put to music. And now I feel I actually love reading the Bible. But that has been a discipline that's taken me like years of being like, right, I need to sit and spend this time.
Have you got a favourite book in the Bible?
I know it's cliche. I really like the Psalms. I feel God is speaking to me a lot through Isaiah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, which is so good. And that's been over the last couple of years.
Love it.
And I know, like, who doesn't love the Gospels?
Come on.
Yeah.
The hits.
She likes the classics.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Kate? You got any? What's your faves?
Gosh, I love Romans just because
Yeah.
it's so dense, and like you could take one verse and spend about an hour talking about all of its intricacies. I think it's like Paul's masterpiece. Like of all the books that Paul writes in the New Testament, that's like the one that lights me up the most. But again, because I write songs, it's the Psalms, like because it's so poetic and like covers immense ground, and I feel like I feel most seen when I read some of the Psalms, because it's like all of human emotion and like the highs and the lows, and I feel a bit more like it's okay to have moments, because David has so many moments.
Oh my gosh, David's wild one.
I love when it's like down and up, and I'm like, I feel that. Like,
It's great, but like slay like, it's really
Love that. I love. Have you heard that? You know, there's like different translations of the Bible.
Yeah.
Some people read. There was one that I don't recommend. The Street Bible.
Yes.
That aged quite quickly, I would say. But in there, the Psalms had like, so some of the Psalms, it has like musical arrangements, right? At the start, it would say like for, I don't know, whatever instrument they were playing. But in the Street Bible, it says like to the tune of like Bohemian Rhapsody or something.
No, that's so funny.
Yeah, oh, it's wild. But like, I think in that discussion, like whatever version you read is the best version. So, like, just have a try of a few. For my favourite books, Old Testament, I like Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is really punk, and it's so like, everything's meaningless, and it's just like it's a little bit cynical in a way. And I think it's cool because it shows how the Bible really has like like you're saying, every human emotion, like in Psalms and Ecclesiastes. It kind of I don't know, if you sometimes find like churches a little bit too joyful all the time, just too happy all the time, read Ecclesiastes. I remember telling a young person, they read it and they were like, well, that's bummed me out now. I really like Ecclesiastes. I think that's really cool. New Testament, I love James.
What a book.
James is just like bang straight away. I like really digestible. So it's not like you have to read around James a ton. He'll just be like, oh, well, religion is this, like look after people. And if you ain't doing it, then, well, maybe you should start.
Think about it.
He's like Proverbs, like really short kind of truths. So I really like that. Sorry, that question was not, we weren't even planning that. I'm just intrigued. I love
Nice, sorry, this is a follow-up question. Do you have a favourite verse, or like a verse that you feel?
So I always say to young people, say Jesus wept, because shortest one, easiest to remember. Okay, what's your favourite verse? Well, I remember mine.
I mean, my favourite chapter is Romans 8, which is a classic. And I think my favourite verse in Romans 8 is the neither height nor depth, or neither angels nor demons or heaven or earth can separate us from the love of God. It's like so grounding for me of like what, and I get so caught up in like, well, the Bible tells me to do this, I'm not doing it, and like my like totally distancing myself from God. It's like, actually no, he's got you. Like there's absolutely nothing that can like tear you away from that. It's just like, it's so simple, and we say it a lot, and sometimes I think it can get over laboured and we lose its meaning. But like within the context of the rest of that chapter, basically all about like we're sealed in, and it has eternal benefit to us. Like it's the pinnacle of it. It's like, and God's got you eternally. It's mad. Hannah, what's yours?
It's interesting because I do think it changes, and I think it depends on like what. I feel like if I had verses for different years, different seasons, but the one I come back to quite a lot is Psalm 16 verse 11, and it's you make known to me the path of life, in your presence is fullness of joy. Something along those lines.
I think that was it. That was
it. I can't. It's so bad. I should be able to remember it more, but I think that's just like God's got a plan, and God's path is the best path. And joy doesn't always mean your prayers are answered exactly how you want them, or things go exactly, but in his presence is that joy. And I think that's just a lovely reminder.
So good. I like praying the Psalms. So often if I'm stuck on a prayer, I just get to a psalm and pray through. And one that I often go to is, test me, Lord, and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. It sums up a lot for me. Like, it says a lot about the closeness of God. And he sees me, and all I want from my life really is to follow God in that way everlasting. And so it's like, I find that so useful for my life, because it kind of sums up a lot of where I'm trying to get to in prayer. And so I'm going to go for that for now. Nice. But it changes a lot. I'm quite fickle. That's why I can't get a tattoo. I'd need to change it the next week, and then
I've just realised I've got a tattoo. There's a Bible verse that should be my favourite one.
I love that.
I just realised that. I've just got saved by grace on my back.
That's great.
Yeah,
that is good.
But I forgot that was there.
Was the Sam verse too long? Was going to get it, but it's a lot more expensive.
Jesus wept. But
yeah, that's
that one.
Just in a tear on my cheek. Maybe Jesus just in a tear shape there. Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be so good.
It.
Kate, can you save us? Sorry.
Bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back.
You save us.
A lot of what I hear from young people when I talk to them about the Bible is, I don't get it. I don't know how to read it, and why is it relevant? I think because I wonder if we all come from quite charismatic backgrounds where church is like super exciting. We have a lot of time waiting on the Holy Spirit, and so our relationship with God is incredibly feel based, as opposed to some churches, all of their relationship is like within reading their Bible. And I think for young people coming from all sorts of different backgrounds, whether they're like Church of England or Baptist or Pentecostal, like relationship with the Bible, particularly inside church, is really varying across like denominations. And so I think out of that, if someone was kind of feeling like they're at the beginning of starting proper like a Bible reading habit, or like digging into it, or want to relate with it a bit more, as like, why is the Bible relevant for them, and what difference does it actually make in your life? Kind of a two-part question.
That's a really good question, and it's okay if you don't understand why. A lot of the Bible I still don't understand. I have to be honest. I'm like, how is this relevant to my life? Yeah. But I do think starting with the Gospels, so Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, when it tells the story of Jesus and his birth and his death and his resurrection, it's a really good place to start, because you just see how he treats people, and how that's how we should be living and treating people. Two, the sacrifice that he made for us, and why like there's nothing that we can do to obtain that. That was the gift he gave us, and what that means for us as well. And I think that's a really good place to start. I think there's like a lot of like books where you just see it, and I mentioned it already, that story of God using people who are broken, normal, just like us, and bringing this amazing, beautiful story out of it. And it's not about what they do, but it's about what God does. And that, again, that's what the Bible shows. But I think more than ever, people are looking for truth. People are looking for something they can hold on to. Social media is like really fleeting. Like people, as I said, we're broken, we're fleeting. So I think like the Bible has withstood, I don't know how many years, a long time. So it is like truth that we can hold on to, we can grapple with it, but it's stayed the same for such a length of time that I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it says there's stuff in Ecclesiastes about like nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun, really. And I think that's true of like the biblical truths speak across millennia. Yeah. Because like the issues that we're dealing with, the issues of the human heart, haven't really changed. And it's that we're kind of inherently a bit selfish, and we follow that selfishness into ways of living which are not good for our thriving and for our community. And like Jesus offers just a radically different way, and the whole Bible is often like a course correct of like, even in the Old Testament where you see kind of the Israelites are on a journey and they keep turning from God. God's always offering a way back. There's always hope. Come this way, come back this way. And God's way is always offering a way of living which isn't focused with me in the center of the universe, getting everything that I think that I want and need. It's actually like this beautiful, thriving, giving community of like how we were made to live. And like, that's always going to be relevant.
Always
I need to hear that daily.
Yeah.
All the time. And that's like a lot of these spiritual disciplines. It's like, we need to be disciplined with it, because if we're honest, it's not our go-to thing as humans. Like, if we're passive, we're not going to live like the kingdom way.
Yeah.
Because there's something in us which just, we fall into these patterns which are not helpful for us. They're not helpful for the people around us, because there's some like little selfish kind of seed. Well, maybe I'm just talking for myself. There definitely is in me, 100%. And I need these like disciplines so that I can live the way that I really want to live. Like when I look back on it, that like future me would be like, well done. That's it, smashed it. You've made a change for that. Like, what do you reckon, Kate? Is it still relevant? Is it still?
I think like one of my favourite passages is John 1, where it talks about Jesus being the Word. Like the Word was God and the Word was with God. And I think so often we can separate like the person of the Lord and the book of the Bible and think that it's almost like two narratives of like, Jesus as a person said this to me in prayer, but like, what does the Bible say? But like, actually, the Bible is like Jesus' outstretched hand of like, here is a physical resource of like, I want everyone on earth to know the goodness of God and to hear the news of salvation. And the Bible is like the only physical thing we have of like, now that we're not alive at the same time as Jesus, like it is his word in like form for us to hold. And I think it's irrelevant, because without it, we'd be just be lost. And it's like such concrete, and like you said, it's lasted so long that it has to be relevant. Of like, look at the lives that have been changed as a result of this book, or like the testimonies of people who picked it up and were super cynical. Like God really spoke through it. Or that verse where God talks about like, my word will accomplish what I want it to. And it's so multi-dimensional, is a big word for it. Like it's got so many different ways that God could speak to somebody through it. Or like people read a verse and I'm like, how on earth did you get to that point from that verse? Like God's speaking to you in like an amazing way. I want to know more.
It's like the Bible, like the New Testament says about the Bible being alive. And I get that. Like, how many times you had it when you read the Bible and there's a verse that you know and you've read it maybe 100 times before, but that day it like jumps out at you and you see it in a different context or a different way. And I love that about it. It's like it's always relevant, because my perception of it and understanding it is always changing and growing. So like in the different situations that I'm in, often like it's through the Bible that I hear from God. Even if I'm not reading it at the time, like sometimes in prayer I'll be directed to about the Bible. And just like, oh yes, that's it for today. I love it. But let's face it, it's not easy. It's not an easy read.
No.
Not an easy read. And don't just pick it up like any other book. Like start in Genesis and then just rock and roll through it. Like, have we got any tips for young people that might be listening to this? But like, okay, cool, Bible, I'm in. I want to get stuck in. How can they do that in a way which is like sustainable, I suppose? Because like, how many people have done the 1 year? Read the Bible in a year. Gets like mid-Feb. And you're like, oh, this is long. Reading some like genealogy and Kings or something like that.
What book do you give up on?
Oh my gosh.
Numbers. Always.
Numbers.
Very slow.
I think one tip would be, I know I mentioned Bible, like devotionals and stuff, but even just reading a psalm a day, and that can be really helpful. Just start small. Don't feel like I need to get the whole book done. Like you've got time. Like I was going to say hopefully, but that felt really mean. But you've got like, God's not expecting you to have it all done. It's not like an English coursework. It's so
good.
He's just wanting you to engage with his word.
Come on, because we can treat it like a task. That's the danger. It's like when we get, sometimes the disciplines come and they just end up making us feel bad. It's not what they're there for, right? Like, so I really like that. So choose something that's achievable.
Or even if that's like meditating on one verse for a week and just
that's good.
Getting that really ingrained in your brain and just been like, because I think there's sometimes I know in my life where I've had nothing else but a verse to hold on to, and it's just reciting that over and over in my head. And times I felt scared or nervous, and I've just recited a certain verse over and over.
That's really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think as well there's like an element of, in the same way as when I did my GCSEs, I had a teacher like walking me through how to do my exam.
Quadratic equations.
And fail. But I find massive encouragement in like going to people from church and like, hey, can you help me? Like there's an element of community with like the Bible is meant to be for everyone, and so there should be like I love hearing people who like live the Bible and who just find so much joy in it, talk about it because it lights me up, and there's that element of like walking alongside somebody and having them input. And I think maybe it's just the way I'm wired, or like as someone that finds like massive joy in hanging out with other people, it just helps. It's like you see it in different ways, and it opens you up to different parts of thinking about it. And like as if I were to go to my pastor, it's like almost having them help me with like coursework. And like, not that it is, but it just helps you see it in a better light, I think, when it's not just your brain. And because we all have a certain lens of reading it, don't we, or a certain bias. And so
oh my gosh, that's so true. I was having a conversation with people like, how do you see Jesus? And obviously I thought the way I saw him was right. For me, Jesus is like revolutionary, like kind of political in some ways, like this disruptive, amazing God who turns everything that we think we know about power and truth on its head. And people are like, no. No, he's a teacher. He gives us these amazing teachings to go and live by. And then some people are like, no, he's like something else. And like, actually, the Bible is so multifaceted. And even if you look at the cross, like there's so many different interpretations, a way of understanding that, that like, I think doing it in community is like the only way. Really. So please, if you're listening to this, don't try this by yourself. You can start there, but like you're gonna come across some things which you might experience tension in the Bible. Stuff that you're like, oh, I'm not sure about that. I thought God was loving. What's going on here? And what about this verse? And I'd say your youth worker, or if you find your way into a church, a youth worker there will be doing backflips. If you come up and say, I've been reading the Bible, I've just got a couple of questions about it, they will be so excited by that.
Oh, definitely.
So excited.
And it doesn't mean, I must say, it doesn't mean like we know the answers. But we're so willing to chat through it.
Absolutely. And do you know what? And that's great because like the answers aren't simple. They're not like, it's like life. It's not a simple, that's because of this one sentence. But like something when you bring lots of perspectives together, you get a clearer idea, right?
Absolutely. That's great.
What about, do you like to have analog Bible, old school, just a book? Or do you use your phone? Do you use like Bible apps, or like, because to be real, the Bible app, the only problem with it is it's next to all my other fun, exciting apps.
I know.
So I find if I wake up early and I get that out, sometimes it's like the temptation is too strong.
I end up on ASOS. And I'm like, why am I here?
Vinted is the one thing. Oh my gosh. So what do we reckon?
Do you want to go first?
Well, I when I was a teenager, barely picked up a physical Bible. I had bought my first Bible at Spring Harvest when I was like 6-7 years old. It was camouflage, felt really cool. Whoa. It had zippy up. I loved it. It was cool. New Living Translation, which I think is quite rote.
Wow. But did you lose it?
No, I think I still have it. Oh wow! I was so slow to that.
Same. Don't worry. We're both like,
Probably because it's just not that funny, but still.
And then I didn't have much desire to take my physical Bible to anything, and would only ever have my phone Bible, and my Bible reading wasn't regular. But honestly, it transformed. This is my Bible, which you've seen in
that is actually a really nice Bible.
It's cool.
I must say.
It's pretty dramatic.
You can get 20% off if you use our code. Kate's got a beautiful Bible.
I mean, I saw it, I was like, this is amazing. And if it, like, I feel inspired to pick it up because it's got, this is my big thing, journaling space on the sides. Because and at first I was really cynical about it. I was like, why would you want to add anything to the Bible? But actually, like, I thought it's so helpful. Like, oh, God spoke to me about this in this verse. Or like, I found that having like space almost to make it a conversation with it. Like with me and God, of like reminding myself of what he's done and how he's spoken through it. Actually writing it down so I can remember it is now why I would much prefer having a physical Bible, because then again it gets lost in the million other notes in my phone. I think not to like trash on phones, but like it's
you can trash on phones, I think.
I now would say I much prefer an analog acoustic Bible.
Yeah, I'd be similar. And what I really like is sometimes, and a lot of the time I'm not written anything else, but I've written a date beside a verse.
Cool.
And I'm like, oh, God must have spoken to me. I'll sometimes write an extra little thing. And I'm like, that's really cool that was a date that God's spoke to me. Yeah. And I think what's funny though is like, when you're talking about community and speaking with other people, that's really important for me, because I look through the notes I've written on the side, I'm like, none of these are really an original thought. But I'll just basically rewriting what's said in the Bible in a different way. But it's just like nice that I've thought, I'll just add something on my own, but it's the exact same thing.
You know, I love that though, because the easiest thing for us to do, we feel like God's speaking to us through the Bible, and then a week later we just forget it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And even having that physical thing where you might not, let's face it, our faith journey isn't like a linear progression towards God. It's always like a bit up and down.
Yeah.
So like when you're feeling a bit down, if you kind of dragged yourself unwillingly to the Bible, but you've made it there, you've been disciplined, and you open it and it can remind you of that time when you felt really close to God.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, right? So I love that. I love our chucking it full of unoriginal thoughts and Bible. It's good. I really rate that. It's cool.
So, Hannah, I would pose one question to you. If you were talking to one of your young people and you were to give them one piece of kind of like foundational advice, if they're struggling with their Bible, if it's feeling a bit overwhelming, or maybe they haven't got a rhythm of it, what would you say to them as like a place to start or a piece of encouragement for them?
Yeah, I think start by praying. Just
so good.
Ask, because I think it can be so overwhelming, as you said, and just ask God to reveal what he wants to say to you through a certain passage or a certain bit of the Bible. And I mentioned it earlier, but just start small, like 5 minutes a day, and then work up from there. What also really helps me is like Lectio, because that's kind of a walkthrough of the Bible. It's an app, if you've not heard of it. And it just walks you through different questions and allows you time to wait with a certain passage. And I think it's a really good way of kind of introducing you to how to consider approaching Bible passages.
So good. Yeah, I love that. I think, getting some like support in content, whether that's like all the ways we mentioned, but also like YouTube's unreal for it, but I would say be careful on YouTube. Every good idea and every bad idea is available for you to view. And so like stick to trusted sources. I have not seen a Bible Project video that was bad. The Bible Project is so good. Also, you will like you'll see where your youth worker gets all of their material from. Don't hide me like that. But I love that. Pray before, get some support from friends, from community, from like study guides or from video resources, and enjoy the journey, right? It's a beautiful thing.
And it's not meant to be. I'm not saying like it's going to be fun straight away, but it's not meant to be like a hard task. Like it's an opportunity to get to know God more and for him to speak to you more. And I don't know who wouldn't want that. Like, he's not like, you need to read your Bible to get this, this, and this. It's just a way of connecting with God and relationship more.
Love that. That feels like an excellent place to close. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Guys.
It's been great fun. And we will see you guys next week for the next episode of the Youth Catalyst podcast. Take care.
Bye.